And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we get ready for the running of the Rolex 350. This is race number 2 of the chase for the Mobil1 Cup Series, and I'm being joined in the booth by special co-commentator Anthony McCrury, Silver Machine 9000. Thanks for joining me.
And no problem, Seth. This is a great racetrack, a great series. I'm really glad to be here for a long race here at Indianapolis. One of the longest tracks on the circuit and one of the most oddly shaped on the circuit as well.
Well, I think if you went into the Honor 2003 universe as far as the YouTubers are concerned, you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find someone that knows more about Indianapolis than yourself with the NCG MRS 500s you run here and everything. What are we going to see here with these cars and this track and so much on the line heading into the very beginning of the chase?
We're going to see a lot of fast racing going down these extremely long front stretches, front and back straights. The turns on this track is unbelievably small. If you think about the size of the track, it's a 2.5 mile track, and just the size of the turns are just incredibly tiny when you consider that we have such long straights. And don't forget the short chutes in the turn. So not only is it not just a turn 1 and then immediately you go into turn 2, you have that short chute, and then you're in turn 2 or 4, and you could easily lock up the brakes going down into turns 1 and turns 3. Those two turns, if you're not smooth on the brakes, you're going to lock it up and you're going to head right into the wall. But we've seen in the Truck Series race that the lower line really was the best place to be if you wanted to make a pass, and if you could get the guy in front of you loose, you could shoot him up the track just a little bit and be able to go underneath him and take the position away. A bump and run at 200 miles an hour is not exactly the best strategy, but it definitely is an effective one.
Well, from what you're saying, it sounds like every different part of this track is very difficult for these drivers to race on, but if you had to pick one particular area of this racetrack that you think is going to be the trouble spot for these drivers today, where would you say that location would be?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because in the NCG MRS 500 it was always turn 4, but on this track it seems like it's don't call me crazy, but it's out of turn 2 and down the backstretch is where the trouble spot is. And I think what it is that coming out of turn 2, you have a big run of head of steam trying to go down the backstretch. That way you can set a move up down the backstretch. That way you have time to do it in turn 3, and you're not forcing yourself to make a spectacular pass going down the front stretch. So you're gunning it, and you're going to go out, and there's the safer barrier that jets from the wall right there. And it's really easy to hit the wall going out of turn 2 and then slapping your fellow teammate or another driver, as we've seen a lot lately at Indianapolis. And the real issue with that is that if you're like at the front of the field and you're trying to go for a win and you ended up hitting the wall and then coming down into another driver, you could cause a chain reaction wreck that could end up taking out the entire field, which would not be a very good thing, and you probably would be looked sorely upon by a lot of drivers. So definitely turn 2 and down the backstretch is probably the biggest trouble spot.
Well, right now I'm trying to look with the visual I've got to see if I can find any chasers. The highest starting chaser in this field is 8th place. That's Joseph Bryant. Then you got to look back to 12th place. That's where you find Sean Galligan. Not a lot of chasers up here. Only one inside the top 10. Now, you've seen basically how well drivers are able to move up through the field and everything. Rare wrecks occur. Is this wise strategy by these drivers to not have this good a qualifying run by starting up front? Do you think that this is going to be okay for them starting mid-pack to the back of the pack, or did they pass up a big opportunity by starting up somewhere near the front row?
If you start in the front, then you're going to miss a lot of wrecks, but starting mid-pack to the back of the pack is not necessarily a bad idea, because if you can get on that low line, you can bypass a bunch of cars, and if a wreck does occur, you're on that low side, and all the cars are going to wash up the track, and you'll be on the bottom of the track. So really, it's not that bad a strategy. I wouldn't do it, but that doesn't mean anyone else would.
Okay, we're about to get these cars underway. Commander fire of the engines has been given. So as they fire them up, Trent Dunham comes into this race with a 1-point advantage over Adam Chambers, and then 5 points to Ralph Mason. And believe it or not, Trent Dunham is a former winner here in the Mobil1 Cup Series. He won back in Season 3, and that was his first step to winning the championship. If he could win today, he may be en route to his second championship in the Mobil1 Cup Series, as we now give you your starting grid with, of course, Anthony McCrury's soundtrack.
Yay!
Getting ready to go under the green flag. Dylan Young starting on the front row alongside of Michael Norman. Now, Michael Norman came into this race, I believe he made his debut last week at Coca-Cola, ended up finishing dead last there, but we got some good names up here. Dylan Poteet, Barney Ward, a lot of veteran names up here at the front of the field.
Yeah, and the veterans definitely know how to get around this track because they've raced here a lot, but some of these rookies, you know, they could make their moves. And I would definitely look at the rookies. Watch out for the rookies.
Comes out here, heading into turn 1. You said the trouble spot might be off turn 2. We're going to have to see what they do here. I have noticed that the drivers, I don't know if it's just the way that these cars handle, but they don't seem to wreck quite as much in the Mobil1 Cup Series as they do in trucks and Snickers. But then again, a lot of times we've seen wreck fests with these cars.
These cars are a little heavier than the other cars. The trucks, of course, doesn't have as much weight because there's just the flat bed on the back. There's not much weight back there, and the Gen 6 cars are a lot lighter than the other cars, and these cars are the heaviest cars that we run, so that makes them a little slower, and they're a little more aerodynamic because they got those really weird rear fins. But for the most part, it's probably why, as Poteet's gone to the lead. Dylan Poteet.
He got by Dylan Young there. Comes the 25 of Jake Baskinger trying to work his way up here to the front, and I'm looking back there. I think Joseph Bryant has slipped back, so I don't think we got any chasers inside the top 10 right now. Well, wait a minute. I think there may be one. Yeah, only one, and it's Ralph Mason. Oh, my goodness, he almost got into Charles Jackson.
Wow. That could have been, you see, that was coming out of turn 2, though, so that would have been a really big wreck, and
look at the drivers behind him, too, that might have been involved if that wreck had happened. You got Galligan, Bryant, Whito Savotas, and James Silverfox, all chasers. Tryphon Reed there as well. That could have really played out big into the chase.
Yeah, you know, I don't think this has ever happened, but what if all the chase racers DNF'd, like, in like the order in which they started the race? Like, if Trent Dunham DNF'd and he was the highest running of the DNFs.
That would probably be one of the most unusual things I've ever seen take place here. Never heard of that happening. Oh, Dylan Poteet lost the lead. Barney Ward's out in front now.
There goes Barney Ward to the lead,
you know,
in the number 41 AC Delco Chevy.
One thing that I've noticed is a lot of drivers that are racing for another championship, if they're, say, in the Mobil1 Cup Series, they try and get a really good finish in the Truck Series race. If in their Snicker Cup Series chase, they try to get good runs in both the Oreo and Mobil1 Cup Series. Barney Ward is one of those drivers. He's battling for the Snickers Cup Series championship, and right now, it's almost looking like he's trying to figure this track out as we got our first caution.
Uh-oh, I wonder what happened.
Don't see anything up at the front of the field of any drivers involved, as Barney Ward will be Michael Norman to the line.
That was close.
Oh, and it looks like it was Adam Chambers, second in points, but I don't see any damage on that 21.
Might have been just a spin. If that is the case, and it was a really mild spin.
There's Chris Kyle, James Qualls. They appear to be off the pace. Yeah, there's smoke right there. I couldn't tell if that was in turn 1. I think it was in turn 1.
Very interesting.
Because I see absolutely no visible damage on the Adam Chambers machine. Now, obviously, this is going to be bad for him because he's going to be starting at the back of the pack on a restart, but he may have dodged a bullet.
Absolutely. I mean, that could have been big.
Caution out here on lap number 3. We're currently on lap number 4. Let's look back at a replay of what brought out our first yellow. Here's a look at what happened, and from the look of it, Chambers just overdrove the corner because he goes right up into Richard Johnson.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where you're trying to pass another driver and you just miscalculate where you put the car and just kind of rides up into him.
Chris Kyle doing the same exact thing to James Qualls, just a few cars back there. So that's what spun him around. And Chambers, he did get the wall there with the right front after he went up into the fence. We know Richard Johnson now has some right side damage, but I think Chambers, even with his spin out, I don't really think he hit the wall that hard. Take a look
There'll be
here.
some aero damage, but other than that, I don't think it'll be too bad.
Fortunately for him, the roof flap's engaged. That helps cut off a little bit of speed. And yeah, the left rear taps the outside retaining wall, but really he got away from that unscathed. And, Indianapolis, we talk about it, the high speeds and high impact, and really that's an unusual thing to see, just a little tap into the outside retaining wall.
He got really lucky. That's all I can say.
No doubt about it. Chris Kyle spinning out too. Pretty much, it almost looks like there were no cars that really wrecked. So if we hadn't seen this replay, we'd be like, why did they bring the caution flag out? But 2 cars spinning, Chambers and Chris Kyle. That brings out our yellow. Let's go back for the restart. Driver's going to take the early opportunity here with our first caution to come down and make pit stops. How early on would you consider gambling, Anthony?
As soon as I guess as soon as you got down on pit road. I mean, we're pitting on lap 4 now 5. But if you pit early on, then you're not gonna have to make a pit stop later. So if other guys try to pit later, and you've already pitted, then you're good to go. I mean, we saw that at Coca-Cola in the Snickers Cup Series race when Dylan Young won the race. I mean, he pitted way earlier than everyone else, and he ended up winning the race. So, it looks
Riley
like
Ogle.
the 77 is gonna get off pit road first.
Yes, he is. I couldn't tell, but I think he only went with a 2-tire strategy.
2 tires at this track isn't bad because when you're going down to the turn, all the weight is shifted over to the right side because there's hardly any banking here. So, 2 tires isn't that bad, but that was a lightning fast pit stop, even for a 2-tire stop. I'm almost wondering if he didn't take any tires at all.
I think he may have taken 2. I think I saw everybody at least go up on the right side, but he came down pit road in 4th. He takes the lead now. Jackson, he was 16th. He comes out second. I would say he probably went with fuel only.
And there's Barney Ward right behind. He didn't. He only took 4. He took 4 tires. And does my eyes deceive me, or is that Ralph Mason, or is that Wolfgang?
It's one of the Masons. That's Wolfgang Mason
Wolfgang.
up there. But Wolfgang,
Okay.
I think he and Charles Jackson both went with fuel only because they were 16th, 17th. They're now going to restart 2nd and 5th. So there's a whole bunch of different strategies playing out here.
Very interesting.
So looks like the way they're going to restart when we go back to green is going to be Riley Ogle, Charles Jackson, Barney Ward, Dylan Young, Wolfgang Mason, then Luke Martin, Michael Norman, Danny Wells, Dylan Poteet, and then the first of the chasers, Ralph Mason, is going to restart in the 10th position. Felix Graves is going to be 11th, Baskinger 12th, Galligan 13th, Votas 14th, Henley 15th. And I'm not sure where the rest of them are going to be. Let's wait until they cross the stripe here. We may get the signal of 1 to go. If so, we'll just try and give a full field rundown at this point and then just stick around for the green. If not, we'll then cut to when the green flag comes out. Let's see if the lights will go out on the pace car this time.
Very nice Dodge Challenger pace car.
Looks like we're still going to stay under caution. So let's quickly just jump back to 15th place. Just give you a full field rundown, and then we'll cut to the green flag. 16th place, that's going to be Trife and Reed. Jordan Davis is 17th. There's the points leader, Trent Dunham, hanging there in 18th place. Eric Burton in 19th, and Mark Thomas is going to be 20th. Then it's Lily Erickson, Drew Austin, Jeffrey Finguy, John McNamara, and Austin Ogo, the top 25. All 3 of the Joe Gibbs cars right there in 23rd through 25th. They may be working some similar strategy with each other.
Very nice run for Joe Gibbs, I might add, too.
26th is Lawler, Buchanan's 27th, and it's Arui Tashimi, James McLeod, and Justin Williams, the top 30. Leah Walker is in 31st, Kyle Sosnowski 32nd, 33rd is James Silverfox, Cole Daly 34th, 35th Chris Kyle, Joseph Bryan 36th, 37th, Rohit Vidarbu, Jake Rogers 38, 39th, Adam Chambers, then it's Richard Johnson, James Qualls, and Nicole Williams must have had an extremely slow stop because she's going to restart all the way back in dead last.
Not good. But, on the other hand, maybe it's all strategy. We just don't know.
Could very well be. We're going to really, I guess they're going to have another lap to go, so we're going to cut to the green flag in just a moment. We will be back for the restart. Pace car is peeled off, getting ready to go back to green flag racing on lap 8 of 24. That'll put us a third of the way through this race. Riley Ogle, let's see if those 2 tires are going to hold up for him. Charles Jackson, I don't think, took any. Barney Ward took 4. We'll have to see how all 3 of those strategies play out here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's 2 tires versus 4 tires, and I'm not sure who's going to win, but if I had to guess, it's probably going to be the 4-tire guys. As Charles Jackson is trying to get under the Riley Ogle, now he kind of does.
One thing about this puts them in a single file formation now, as opposed to when we went to green, they were double wide. How long you think it's going to take them to get 3 wide again?
Not long, because we're already going double wide.
And Charles Jackson going to try and get the run there. Looks like they're trying to make the pass with the middle groove. Nobody really going down to that white line near those rumble strips.
If you go down too far, you will end up hitting the rumble strips. And if you hit the rumble strips, it's a bad day because your car's going to hop and slide. And that's nothing that you ever want to have happen unless you're a Formula Drift racer. But the middle line is the line that works, so I'm not going to question. Just race the line that works.
Charles Jackson now's got a rear deck lid full of Dylan Young. And Dylan Young ended up winning the Snickers Cup Series race at Coca-Cola, if I remember correctly. So he's got quite a bit of momentum here. He's going to try and pick up his first Mobil1 Cup Series win of the season. He started on the pole, too, so apparently starting up front was a big key factor for a lot of these drivers.
Starting up front definitely helped Dylan Young, and a lot of the other front runners are still up in the front. If they're not up in the front, they had bad pit stop or they got hung up on the high line. But Dylan Young is definitely one of my picks to win this race.
And Dylan Young's going to take our second caution of the day as the yellow lights are on for some reason. Oh, and it's the outside pole sitter, Michael Norman.
Oh,
and
I spoke too soon.
I'm not sure, but I thought I saw some skid marks in the turn 3 area. I think Michael may have been turned down into that steel guardrail.
Uh-oh. That ain't good.
I don't know for certain. Oh, maybe it was Silver Fox. That's a championship contender, 6th in points.
That's definitely not what he needed.
Oh, Baskinger's got damage on the front of his car. So there's 3 candidates that may have hit that steel guardrail, and with the damage, it looks like it could have been Baskinger who plowed that steel guardrail.
It's definitely not something that you want to have happen this late in the race.
Not at all. And another thing, too, Norman, Baskinger, and James Silverfox, I think they were all up inside the top 20 for most of the day, and that's not going to be working out well for them, especially for Silverfox, because he's winless this season, and he came in as a championship contender. Obviously, he's not eliminated from the championship, with it being a 10 race chase this season, but still, not a DNF was not what he wanted.
Absolutely not. I mean, that's a lot of points when you consider that if he's the only championship contender that DNFs this entire race, then he's going to drop like a rock through the standings.
Absolutely. I think Silver Fox came in 23 points back from the points leader Trent Dunham, and that gap's going to be quite a bit more when we leave today. Dylan Young's the leader under caution. Let's take a look and see what happened. Here's a look at what happened. Back just inside the top 10. And I think Dylan Poteet, Michael Norman make contact. Poteet then bounces into his own teammate Tryphon Reed, and then the two of them get the 3-car around.
They were 3 wide, so that's a pretty scary situation on this kind of track. And
not much room for error.
Yeah, Michael just hit that wall hard.
And we know that James Silverfox was smoking. I don't know
I wonder
if
if Silver Fox came and plowed into him.
Well, the only thing is he didn't have any... Oh, yep, oh, right there. Yep. I think he got him with the right front. Just a bit.
Barely got him.
Oh, man. He almost got through that.
He was an inch away from making it through.
And smoke just erupting, and I think Silver Fox, he's going to get a side swipe there from Adam Chambers.
Huh.
Wow.
Well,
Silver Fox, that is a tough break. I mean, he nearly got by Michael Norman, but that really, I mean, it's bad enough you get involved in a wreck, but when you just barely get involved, that really is gut-wrenching.
yeah, especially when you are in the chase.
And now we gotta find out what happened to Jake Baskinger here. See if we can find out where. What in the world?
Oh, he got turned by the 5 car.
No, that's the 9. Why does
Oh,
a
the 9.
Votas?
Look like a 5 from my angle.
A Votas. He just gets loose coming off of turn 3, and he goes up into
slid up the
Baskinger.
track. That's a scary sight when you're looking down that guardrail going 180 miles an hour.
And watch the hit he's going to take here, right there, and I guess he catches one of those parts, and it just flipped his car right over on its side.
Ah, that's gonna sting in the morning.
Yeah, talk about whiplash.
Yeah, there's a certain part on the guardrail where if you hook it just right, you're gonna snap into it, and he managed to find that part on the guardrail.
And he did scrub off a little bit of speed after he hit the guardrail, but I think he was going at least 150 when that car snapped around onto its side.
Wow.
That is a crazy ride and a rather scary ride there for Jake Baskinger. And of course, we're here at Indianapolis, so he'll probably get some complimentary Huggies or something, but oh my goodness, that's a scary ride for Baskinger, who actually had crossed the stripe before that in the 11th position. That's a tough break, too.
I think it's going to take a little more than Huggies to fix that.
I think you're right. So Jake Baskinger goes for a wild ride off the nose of Guido Savotas. James Silverfox and Michael Norman get together, and we're under caution. Let's go back for the restart. Past the halfway point, we'll go back to green on lap 14 of 24. Give you a quick look at the top 10. Dylan Young's the leader, Charles Jackson second. Third is Luke Martin, Barney Ward fourth. Danny Wells is now up to fifth. Sixth is Felix Graves. Seventh, Riley Ogle. Eighth, Ralph Mason. Ninth is Wolfgang Mason. And finally, we have another chaser that has cracked the top 10, and that is Tryphon Reed. I'm really shocked. I mean, I know we talked about the fact that there was only one driver that was in the chase that was starting inside the top 10. That was bad enough, but the fact that we're not having that many chasers up inside the top 10 here, especially past halfway, really is surprising me.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought that the chasers have been right up there trying to claw at each other's necks and trying to get up and get a win, but obviously it's not the case. Maybe they're just trying to survive long enough, and that way they can just kind of, if a bigger wreck does happen, they can just sneak on by and take a proverbial easy win. But other than that, maybe it's just that they don't have a good enough car setup, or maybe they're just strategy staying at the back.
Yeah, it's quite possible. I mean, we have seen that a lot of the incidents that have taken place have not really involved that many cars. I think the biggest one was that one there with Michael Norman and James Silverfox, so not a lot of multi-car wrecks. However, we still got a handful of laps left to go, and there's still a lot of room for something like that to happen.
Oh yeah, you gotta believe that these last 11 laps are gonna be all crazy, because they realize, hey, there's only 11 laps left. We gotta go.
And the thing too, Ralph Mason, he seems to be the only one up inside the top 10, and right now he could be the one to gain the most today as the green flag comes back out. Remember, he comes in only 5 points back from Trent Dunham in the standings, and we know Adam Chambers has encountered problems today. So Ralph Mason, if he can keep himself inside the top 10, we may see him atop the chase standings heading into next week.
It is very possible. I'm actually looking at Ralph Mason to be the chase leader after this race, and Dylan Young is just kind of checked away from Charles Jackson.
And you know, we can't really count Trent Dunham out just yet. There he is, just outside the top 10 now, up in 13th place. And Trent Dunham in Indianapolis, the Mobil1 Cup Series, that race I was talking about that he won, he was running, I believe it was in the 4th position. The top 3 wrecked coming out of turn 4 in the final lap. That's how Dunham won the race. And so maybe Dunham's trying to use that same strategy. Hang back, be just inside the top 5 with about 3 to go, and maybe have something like that happen again. Because, you know, we can't say he's having a terrible day. He just hasn't been right up at the front of the field.
Right, I mean, it's not like he's crashed out. I mean...
Oh, no, we just flipped!
I jinxed it.
We just jinxed it!
Why did
Oh
I
my
say
goodness!
that?
Oh, and the big ones happened.
Trent, please don't hate me.
Oh my goodness. McLeod, Qualls, Finguy, Leia Walker. There's Chambers, Buchanan, Reed. That's 3 chasers involved at least already.
But in my argument, I had a lagging screen.
There you go. Blame the lag. Oh, Nicole Williams is involved. Austin Ogo's involved. That's 5 chasers.
Road.
Vejdarovu's in it. That's 5 chasers at least I've counted right there.
That's crazy.
And Dylan Young's going to be the leader under the caution yet again. But now, we were talking about Ralph Mason in the catbird seat. His 2 opponents, he was behind in the standings, plus the 1 opponent that was behind him in points, they're all wrecked.
Yep, he's unless something happens to him, he's the points leader. That's just it. Oh man, I feel like a jerk. I jinxed it.
Oh my goodness. Well, I was the one that jumped back for us to talk about Trent Dunham, so I think I feel.
Oh man.
Oh boy.
Sorry, Trent.
Indianapolis luck not coming to Trent Dunham this season, and there's Chambers, he's retired. There's Ogo. He came in 10th in points. We were talking about Joe Gibbs Racing actually having pretty good runs today with all 3 of their cars. There's Nicole Williams. We saw her way at the back of the pack. She's involved, and there is the Season 3 champ, Trent Dunham, and the guy who came in as the points leader. This was a big, big wreck, and we're going to have to take a look and see just exactly what happened. If I'm not mistaken, I think it may have started with Trent Dunham, and I couldn't tell if it was Tryfon Reed or if it was Richard Johnson. It was a yellow car, I know that. So we're going to take a look and see what happened. We're going to have, I think, about a 5-6 lap shootout to finish off this race, as Dylan Young's going to be our leader. No pit stops. We'll take a look at our 3rd caution, and this one definitely was the game changer.
Absolutely.
Here's a look at it. Trent Dunham almost kind of doing what we've seen a lot of drivers do, over driving into that corner, and Tryfon Reed had absolutely nowhere to go. He just goes along for the ride.
Yeah, it was just one of those deals where it just happened, and good lord, Trent Dunham flipping.
Austin
wow.
Ogo got underneath them, and that jacked up his hood. I'll tell you one guy who did a whale of a job saving it was Sean Henley. He got clipped in the right rear, got loose, and hung onto it. My amazing English skills.
Don't we all have that?
There's Buchanan getting a piece of it. Look at Jeffrey Finguy straight into the front of Trent Dunham. Leia Walker. Sosnowski's going to be able to get through on the bottom. Bryant gets through, and there were some other drivers that come piling in. Oh yeah, here they are. James McLeod, nowhere to go. Chambers, who was trying to recover from that spin out he had, he's involved. There's James Qualls in it. There were a few. Oh, Austin Ogo flipped over.
Wow.
Oh my word.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness. Look at the hit he's going to take from, I think it's Nicole Williams, right here.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. Nicole Williams got airborne too.
Oh. That is not how you want to do a wheelie.
Oh my goodness. Vejdarovu plowing into it as well. Oh my goodness. Chris Kyle. But that car, I don't think I've seen cars get that much air before at Indianapolis. I do remember one time, though, in your NCGMRS, one of those Indy cars went up way in the air.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of times when that happened. Trying to figure out which time that was that high would be hard, but if I had to say, it was probably the one where whoever her name was went flipping down the front stretch. But ouch!
My goodness. That was a lot of hard licks right there for a lot of drivers.
And that's going to hurt in the morning, and that's going to require not 1, but 2 huggies.
Oh, my goodness. That was at least, I think I counted 5. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5 chasers involved in that wreck. And, you know, we were talking about how everybody was keeping it clean. We had that one caution with a spin out. We had Silver Fox get involved in that single car incident, and then just like that, everything blows up.
Crazy.
Well, this is certainly going to change and shake up the point standings, no doubt about that, heading next week. But we still got a race to finish, so let's head back and see how many laps we're going to have left to finish off today's event.
Yeah.
Getting ready to go back under the green flag. for what could possibly be the final time today. It's going to be a 5-lap shootout to decide this race. And apparently it has seemed that as the racing's gone on, the aggressiveness has really intensified. Do you think we're going to make it clean and green to the finish?
Maybe.
That's always a good answer. So
I don't know.
This track's so unpredictable. As they're currently on the back straightaway, let's currently go through the top 10, then we'll try and find out where the chasers are, as of course we've got several of them back behind the wall after the huge wreck just took place. Dylan Young's the leader, Barney Ward second, Luke Martin now third, Felix Graves is fourth, Wolfgang Mason Curley is fifth, and it's Dylan Poteet sixth. Highest running chaser is Ralph Mason in seventh, chaser Sean Galligan right behind him in eighth, Charles Jackson ninth, and Riley Ogle is in 10th. And then the rest of the chase contenders are going to be, there's Eric Burton, he's 14th. Wido Savotas is in 15th. You got to go quite a ways back before you even get to Kyle Sosnowski in 23rd, Joseph Bryant in 25th, and that's it for the chase contenders that are still in this race.
Well, now, that kind of says a lot.
No doubt about it. Good gracious. Drivers out of the race include Leah Walker, Tryfon Reed, Trent Dunham, Austin Ogo, Jeffrey Finguy, James McLeod, Adam Chambers, Nicole Williams, Chris Kyle, Rohit Vidarvu, Michael Norman, Jake Baskinger, and James Silverfox. Getting ready to go to green. Who you liking here up at the front of the field?
Well, Dylan Young showed his dominance. I'm looking at him to possibly win this race. Also, the guy sitting in second, Barney Ward, don't count him out either.
And I'm trying to remember back on that pit stop. We know Barney Ward went with 4 tires. I don't remember exactly what strategy Dylan Young used.
I think he used the 2-tire stop.
So maybe, just maybe, that pit stop could have been the deciding factor into whether or not Barney Ward's going to be able to get around Dylan Young, or Dylan Young's going to be able to stay out in front of Barney Ward. Looks like Barney Ward may have thoughts for the lead already.
He's coming down low. Whoop, he tried. He might dive it down into turn 3.
Luke Martin right behind him as well. Here comes Luke Martin looking for second place.
And that's going to cause Dylan Young to scoot away.
Yes, indeed. And Dylan Young, great strategy, starting on the pole and just staying out in front all day. That may be the key to his first Mobil1 Cup Series win. And this team has really had to overcome adversity. They probably were one of the top 5 of the worst teams at the beginning of the season. And a lot of people were really looking to see when he was going to turn it around. He ended up winning the Snickers Cup Series race last week at Coca-Cola. He's got some great momentum here as he's currently running here at the front. As I recall, I think he did really well in the Truck Series race here too, so Dylan Young's really turning up the heat as far as his good finishes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, something has definitely turned on in their racing program. I mean, he drives for 2 different teams in both trucks, Mobil and Snickers, but definitely there's like a light has been turned on in their whole racing division and whatnot, and it's really showing because he's shown a lot of dominance in these races that he's been in recently.
And I mean, you look at his win in the Snickers Cup Series race. He ended up using fuel strategy in order to win that race, but it was a pretty big margin. And look at the space he's put between himself and now second place Luke Martin, about 4 car lengths or so, and it's staying a steady 4 car lengths. They are not really closing the gap up at all.
There's such a small window that you can actually drive and actually make it stick, and also they're battling for second between Barney Ward and yeah, you just said his name, Luke Martin. So if they battle like that, they could end up not catching up to Dylan Young, but if they get the single file, they could start closing the gap.
You know, we talk about Dylan Young trying to get his Mobil1 Cup Series season turned around, trying to get momentum on his side. How about a guy who's all of a sudden shown himself up inside the top 5? Chaser Sean Galligan, dead last in the chase points. He's 12th in points. This is a big opportunity for him, with a lot of the chasers DNFing, to get himself back up in the title hunt.
And he's had a phenomenal run today, and it could pay off pretty good. And I just saw this, that we have 3 of the 5 manufacturers represented in this series. 1, 2, 3.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Ford, Toyota, and Chevy there. And Luke Martin, that gap we were talking about, it's gone bye-bye, and they're coming out of turn 4 to get the white flag.
And he's under, well, he tried to get underneath Dylan Young, but Dylan better watch out because we could see a last lap pass, blah, blah, blah. And that's happened before in Indianapolis. It could happen today, and there he goes.
Here he comes. Luke Martin going to go down to the bottom. He's going to take the lead. Now Dylan Young going to lose it. And that was perfect for Luke Martin, too, with the fact that Barney Ward was about 2 car lengths back, not able to challenge. But look, Dylan Young, he's going to come back.
D. Young is coming back. We could see a dive bomb into turn 3.
He's on the inside.
There he goes.
Where's the drafting help going to come?
Oh, he's in there. He's on the inside.
Dylan Young side by side with Luke Martin. Now Barney Ward goes low. That's big for Dylan Young. Look at Barney Ward going to try and dive bomb it out of 4.
Can he do it? Can he make it stick is the question.
I think he's to the inside, but Dylan Young throws the block.
He's not going to have enough time. Dylan Young goes to victory lane.
Undoubtedly, the 2 strongest cars of the day going to finish 1-2, and I really think if they had had one more lap, Dylan Young, Barney Ward would have probably put on quite a spectacular show against each other.
That was cool. I mean, we saw Luke Martin do it in 1 and 2, and then Dylan Young never actually really lost that much speed coming at it too, and he was right there to take advantage going down to turn 3, and I'm almost wondering if he had that plan.
You know, he probably might have. I mean, 9 times out of 10, you get moved up to that high side and someone's behind you, you're going to lose quite a few positions. But how Dylan Young was able to position himself to slide in between Luke Martin and block Barney Ward, that really, I think, may have been the key to him being able to dive bomb on the 99 in turn 3.
That was such an amazing move that he was able to make it stick, too, and that's something you don't really see that much of in the sport, and he actually was able to pull it off, and that was actually an amazing last lap here in Indianapolis to close off the Mobil1 Cup Series race.
And what a wave of momentum Dylan Young is on. Last week at Coca-Cola, wins this first Snickers Cup Series race of the season, finishes top 10 in the Oreo Truck Series race here, and now, in 3 races, picks up his 2nd win of the season, this time his first of the Mobil1 Cup Series in Season 5.
Great drive for the number 6 team of Dylan Young. That's special.
Dylan Young with the victory here today in the Rolex 350. As always, we're going to take a look at the top 10. Barney Ward, he was able to get 2nd place from Luke Martin at the line. And how about Sean Galligan, highest finishing chaser, who we talked about just a little bit at the end of the race, top 5 finish. He did a great job keeping himself out of trouble and coming away with a strong, strong top 5.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw a lot of chasers have a lot of problems with the fact that he was able to make it into the top 5. I mean, that's awesome.
Dylan Poteet, he got a good run in 5th. Felix Graves 6th. Riley Ogle, we saw him do that 2-tire stop. That ended up keeping him up at the front. He comes away with 7th. How about Eric Burton? There's another championship contender. Came in 5th in points, and he's going to get an 8th place finish here today. That was a pretty good stealth move on his part. I don't think we talked about him at all today.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't even on the same planet earlier, and now he's in the top 10. I mean, where did he come from?
Talked about Ralph Mason. He ended up staying inside the top 10 basically all day. He'll get 9th, and Jordan Davis is going to complete the top 10. Let's find out where some of our other chase contenders ended up finishing this race. Waido Zavotas, he got 13th. Looks like we got to go way down before we find Kyle Sosnowski in 25th. He was pretty much not really a factor today. Joseph Bryant, 26th. Then you got to go even further down before you get to the drivers who DNF. Tryphon Reed, Trent Dunham, Austin Ogo, Adam Chambers, Nicole Williams, and then, of course, James Silverfox retiring in dead last. I'm trying to look here at the points, and it's definitely looking like it's Ralph Mason who's going to be the points leader, and maybe Eric Burton 2nd in the standings, but definitely a point shake-up here today.
Absolutely. This race did play with the chasers in such a way that it was just almost impossible for us to not have a new points leader heading into the next week's race. And this was generally just a fun race. I always like it when we go to a track and we just have one of those races where you just sit and watch, and it's amazing.
So congratulations to Dylan Young on his victory here today in the Mobil1 Cup Series, his first of the season. He comes into this race currently sitting 36th in points. So this is definitely a big momentum boost for that team.
Absolutely. This is just incredible for Dylan Young and for Roush Fenway because that was a Roush car he was driving. So kudos to both Dylan Young and for Roush.
Alright, guys, well, this race is over. It's in the books. Chase race number 2 is done. We continue on with the chase next week at Supercell, but we still got the race weekend here at Indianapolis still to finish up with the run of the Snickers Cup Series race, the Brickyard 400. Anthony, I want to thank you for joining me for today's race.
Thanks a lot, Seth. I was glad to be here. Oh, could I put a plug in for something really
Certainly,
quick?
go right ahead.
All right. Since we were at Indianapolis doing co-commentary for this race, I just thought I'd take this opportunity, since we're in the Indianapolis spirit. The 5th annual NCGMers 500 signups will be at the end of the week. We will be having a 100-lap race instead of an 80-lap race. It's going to be with a new mod, new cars, and hopefully a lot of new drivers. So stay tuned for the signups. We'll be at the end of the week. And Seth, thank you for having me.
No problem. If you guys want to be able to sign up for Anthony's 5th annual NCGMer S500, be sure to go over and subscribe to his channel. To do that, look down in the description. It's that nice little blue link with the underline underneath it. Click that and be able to subscribe to his channel. Be sure to subscribe here to the NSCRA Sports channel as well to become a part of the crew today. We'll see you guys next time here on the NSCRA Sports channel. Offline racing at its best.